The Guardians having this busy of a winter meetings was not on my bingo card. Actually, I made a real bingo card. Some of our listeners know that. They had it. None of this was on our bingo card that I created. Andres Gimenez is a Toronto Blue Jay. The guy they got for him is a Pittsburgh Pirate. All of this happened within a couple of hours of each other. And we were debating on when we could record this podcast. We're finally here. Let's talk about it. The Guardians, the busiest team at the winter meetings.
Tanner Bagger, the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and let's talk about a lot of things today. But first, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Behind the curtain for you
know
guys
what we're going to do today.
Yeah, we got on here at about 10 o'clock Eastern or 9:30 Eastern to start recording, and we had heard that there was maybe some more potential in the works after the Andres Gimenez trade, and we chatted and we waited and waited, and we waited enough to get here to talk about the news that came after the return for Andres Gimenez, which was Spencer Horwitz is now a Pirate. The Guardians added 3 pitchers. Let's get into it. He's Jeff. I'm Justin. We have written about prospects at so many places in the draft, which, by the way, go back and check out Jeff's draft. Say that 3 times fast. Jeff's draft stuff from earlier today. He was on here doing
2.5 hours.
Stuff.
So there's a lot.
So go back and listen to that from earlier today.
It started as a draft. I got about 5 picks into my mock, and then the trade happened. So one thing we can guarantee, when I do an MLB draft lottery show, stuff's getting wild.
Weird things
Stuff
happen. Yeah.
gets wild.
Last year, the Guardians jumped to number 1 in the lottery, and this year they traded Andres Gimenez. And look, there were a lot of people who were upset about that trade when it first happened, and I'd be curious to see what changed since then. I don't
think anything will, if I'm being honest.
Probably not. No,
just because it's a lot of people loved him. Like, he was a fan favorite. He was, a lot of people had strong connections there.
Andres Gimenez is a personable guy, flashy defender, earned all of his hardware in terms of gold gloves and platinum gloves and all that. The biggest reason he's no longer a Guardian,
baseball for my money.
What's that? Yeah. Oh no, I agree. Yeah, definitely. I mean, second base, there's all kinds of questions about whether or not how valuable second base is defensively, but he is by far one of the best out there. Could probably do it at shortstop. Hasn't done it there yet. Who knows? But so the Guardians, just to kick off the bat here, Andres Gimenez and Nick Sandlin are Toronto Blue Jays. The Guardians did acquire Spencer Horwitz from the Blue Jays, who was a 27-year-old infielder, and he is now a Pittsburgh Pirate. In return, the Guardians are getting right-handed pitcher Luis Ortiz, Josh Hartle, and Michael Kennedy, who are 2 pitching prospects in the Pirates system. We'll get into all that. Let's start here. Let's start with why Andres Gimenez is no longer.
Just to add to those.
What's that?
Both lefties on the other 2.
Both lefties. And they also got Nick Mitchell out of the Toronto deal from the Blue Jays as well. So the Guardians started the day with Andres Gimenez as their second baseman. They ended the day with 4 prospects and 3 prospects and 1 pitcher in the middle of the rotation, which we're going to get all into. So we're going to cover every angle of this. So stick around for the whole show. Let's start with why Andres Gimenez is no longer a Guardian. And really, it's going to be the unpopular answer. It's money. It is money. It's not money specifically. It's money because he wasn't hitting. Andres Gimenez put up a 140-something WRC plus in 2022 on the back of a 353 BABIP that was unsustainable. Did not hit the ball hard, chases a lot, walks. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying this because he's no longer a Guardian. These are the realities of the situation. We thought this year
he's a bad hitter.
He's a bad hitter. We thought maybe this year there was a chance for him to settle in between 2022 and 2023, and that would be like a 100 WRC plus. You know what, Jeff? If he did what he did in 2023, what was it, a 96 WRC plus? If he did that in 2024, he might still be a Guardian. Maybe.
Yeah, they gave him a big contract, and that's we have to be honest. And I know, listen, we're gonna have people who immediately are gonna jump to this is a cheap thing, and I understand the frustration with some of the things that have happened recently, but this was, and people argue with me on this because of the value of defense. You can't WAR for defensive values are inflated. That's why a lot of people have worked on other things. I think WAR is a fun stat for comparison. It's fun for throwing out, but it's nothing evaluative anymore. No one is using WAR to evaluate with teams. Its day is come and gone. And Gimenez's value was all from defense. And if he could be just like after the good year and then after the fantastic year, where one could argue he's the best second baseman in baseball that year. Again, the importance of looking at BABIPs. Last year was a down year. I thought, hey, maybe he rebounds, can get back to a 110. He struggled. He never had more than a good 2-week stretch this past year. And the Guardians have all of the data. They don't have a little. They have all of it. And looking at that data, it was pretty clear to them there wasn't a rebound coming. Now, people I know came back at me in my chat, and it's like, why would Toronto want him? Toronto's front office, their heads are on the line. They don't win, they're gone. They don't care about tomorrow. They don't care that Gimenez is going to make $15 million next year and then $23 million 3 years in a row. They don't care that he's owed $97 million. They got someone who you can count on to be, about a league average player. And they need some stability, and they got that. His glove is fantastic. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he rebounds, even though I don't see the pathway to that with how he played this past year. But if he could have been, like you said, even close to living up to that contract, I don't think they make this trade. This wasn't about like we have to cut money. This is about this contract is darn near underwater already.
I think too, it's getting out in front of it while he is still
has some.
The contract is very backloaded too. That's the other issue here. And again, he had a 141 WRC plus in 2022. If he's still doing that, or if he's still 100, 110, he's not going anywhere because the value is great. But the reality is he's entering his age 26 season next year, and he will make $10 million. The money in 2025 doesn't mean anything, $10 million. But when you get into $15 million in 2026 and $23 million in 2027 and 2028 and 2029, you can't trade the contract then. If he does not rebound offensively in the next couple of years, when you get to the years where he's making $15 and $23 million, if he continues to put up WRC pluses of 96 or 96, 83, 96 would actually not be bad.
No.
But if he continues to show this level of offensive production, there's not a whole defense, even the best defender at any position, maybe center, maybe catcher, I don't know, does not make up for that offense. Like, look, I know Miles Straw is paid significantly less.
It's the same situation, though.
It is the same situation. A larger scale of money.
Yes.
So let's say you don't trade Andres
Gimenez.
Let's say you don't trade Andres Gimenez this offseason, and he comes back and he has an 80, an 85, a 75 WRC plus, right? His value craters even more. You owe him more money, and that contract, it's going to be hard to get anything out of it, right? So I think it's a proactive move. I know people are going to say they're cheap, but you want to know what? I would rather my team not overpay guys that aren't worth their money. And a lot of people are going to say, well, he's a great defender. And yes, he's a great defender. Like you said, Jeff, his defensive value was carrying all of his his WAR, no matter.
And some base running.
Reference. And base running. Yes, the base running is quality too. And I'm not saying he's not a valuable player. I'm just saying the Guardians
was just officially announced. We have an official announcement from the Guardians.
Well, we waited as long as we did. I'm glad we did. You're not getting your value back in what you're paying. The Guardians jumped the gun on Gimenez a little bit after 2022, and I don't blame them for that. But at the same time, I know people are saying, well, they're being cheap. I'd rather my team, and this is the big rub here, I'd rather my team spend money on guys that are more valuable. Gimenez is not going to be out playing his contract much longer, and I don't think he will going forward. So you get out in front and you do this, and I think on the first blush of the trade, you got Nick Mitchell back, who's a minor leaguer, and you get Spencer Horwitz, who was the key piece of the deal, obviously here, had more value than we thought because of what they turned him into. And it's like, this might have started off as a 3-teamer. I don't know what happened, but immediately after the trade started percolating all over social media about Gimenez to Toronto, we started seeing other people tweeting saying people think there's a third team involved that doesn't affect this trade as far as the Blue Jays return, but the Pirates are interested in Spencer Horwitz. And then you and I got I got DMs from people who also said, hey, I heard that Spencer Horwitz is being traded again to the Pirates, and then other names were mentioned. So pretty obvious that there was some conversation here between the three teams, and the Guardians figured out the Pirates liked Spencer Horwitz. Pirates had some things the Guardians liked. Clearly, Horwitz had some value.
Yeah. One other thing, I know people come in and respond to your thing, like according to, the value of player. Like, I don't like the whole thing about money value. Like, oh, he's worth 3 wars worth 23 million. It doesn't really work that way. It's not a 1-to-1. That's a really bad stat to cherry pick. I've never heard anyone quote it or use it with the team. It's just one of those things people mention. But this team cannot afford to pay 23 million for 3 war. Like, is you can sit there and tell me, like, stats say that 23 million for 3 war is a solid investment. This team cannot afford that. This is a bottom 5 market in baseball right now. Like, in terms of size, revenue, and average income, it's not a great situation. And people are going to say I'm an apologist and this and that, but it's like, you cannot pay 23 million for a guy who's going to be 2 derivations below league average offensively to play a non-premium position, with a lot of talk and rumors out there that he doesn't want to play short.
Yeah, I haven't heard that piece of it truthfully, but I know you've seen that places, so I don't know what to make of the shortstop thing with him. Look, on the first, if you look at the trade on the first piece of it, the Horwitz trade, it looks kind of goofy for Cleveland because, like, Horwitz kind of doesn't have a position. He doesn't have enough power to play first, but he's not really a second baseman. He does things offensively well that could help the Guardians.
Things they need, honestly.
Yeah, there are some offensive things.
There's more risk with him, though.
And he's older, and he was older at every level. So I think on that first piece of the trade, the first level before the second piece got announced, I think you could say it's a little weird. The biggest thing with Gimenez going to Toronto and the Horowitz piece of it, we'll get to the Pirates piece of it, which is the big part now. The biggest part of the Blue Jays and Guardians deal was the Guardians have to reinvest the Gimenez money. I don't know if they will, but they might
have already with Bieber. That might be where the Bieber money came from.
And if that's true, that's not a great look for 2025. Like, that's not, I know you can say that, but if they had to move Gimenez's salary in 2024 or 2025 to be able to re-add Bieber, it's not a great sell to fans, in my opinion. We'll see if that comes true or not. We'll see what else they do. But I think that was the big takeaway from the initial trade was, okay, you moved Gimenez, you got Horowitz, who's this guy who has some offensive skills. He can help you out. He might be able to play some left. He might be able to play multiple positions. He hits right-handers really well in a park that needs a guy that can hit right-handers well.
Walks,
he has club control, and he's cheap.
Doesn't chase.
Those are good things they definitely needed, and they no longer have that guy, which we'll get to again next. But I think the other piece of it had to be they had to reinvest the Gimenez money, and I don't think Bieber should count, but that's another story.
They're what? I think they're $7 million under their payroll from a year ago. Right now, it's a projection, right?
Yeah, I think they're at 104. They were 104 a year ago, and now they're down to 97. I don't know what Luis Ortiz makes. I think it's definitely pre-arb, so it's not big. Yeah. So who is going to be playing for the Guardians next year? One of them won't be Andres Gimenez, but one of them will be a starting pitcher, and 2 of them will be in their system, unless those guys get flipped. We've got that to talk about.
One of them's really interesting in his kind of story side of it.
Yeah, lots to cover. Stick with us on Locked On Guardians. So I know trading during the winter meetings was not really on our bingo card. We would not have bet on it, the Guardians doing that. Chris A.I. Tonetti did not give me any inkling that the Guardians would do that. But what you can do is you can put $5 down on FanDuel if you're a new customer and bet $5 down and get $100 in bonus bets if you win while you're tackling the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to bet, place bets, live bets on the NFL all in one place. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you think Jameis Winston's going to throw that interception, I think Nick Chubb can still run some touchdowns in, even though the Browns are a mess. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, so much more on the same page where you place all of your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today, and if you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So go out there. If you're a new customer to FanDuel, throw out a $5 bet on something that, seems pretty possible. And, you're not maybe getting a whole lot in return for that $5 bet, but if you win it, you're getting $100 back if you're a new customer. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Jeff, we said that Shane Bieber would not be enough for the Guardians this offseason in terms of pitching. You couldn't just say, we added Shane Bieber and we'll hope he'll be back in June and all will be well. The Guardians did not do that. They flipped Spencer Horwitz to the Pirates. The Pirates are very interested in Spencer Horwitz.
Apparently, that's a big cost. I mean,
they got back Luis Ortiz, Josh Hartle, and Michael Kennedy. So let's go in reverse here real quick because we're going to spend a lot of time on Ortiz first. Yeah. In reverse. So Kennedy is a high school pitching prospect. He's 20 years old. He'll probably be in Lake County this year. He got $1 million to be bought out of his LSU commitment last year. Josh Hartle comes from Wake Forest, and he had a first-round grade coming into the season, and he kind of fell back in the middle of spring. Things started to look a little bit off with him, but a lot of people thought he'd be one of the first college arms off the board in the draft. He fell to the third round. Cleveland apparently really liked him in the draft. The Pirates got him in the third round. One pick before the Guardians pick, so he might have been a Guardian. And then they get Luis Ortiz. So let's start with Luis Ortiz. We'll talk about Hartle and Kennedy, but Ortiz probably is the Guardians' number 3
He's
starter.
The target. Yeah.
Luis Ortiz has 4 years? Figured out 4 years of club
4
control
years
left.
of control.
He is still pre-arb, so he is extremely affordable, which we know the Guardians love. He's a sinker baller. He throws strikes. He's not a command guy.
One of the best sinkers in all of baseball.
The real question is this. We have to talk about second base at some point, but Ortiz gets a crap load of ground balls. He's got great extension. He throws fairly hard. I don't know who's scooping the ground balls up at second base for Luis Ortiz, but he gets a lot of them. That's exciting. And doesn't give up a lot of hard contact, I don't think. Yeah, hard hit rate's kind of middle-ish of the pack. Yeah. Not a guy who comes in big on strikeouts, but doesn't walk guys, and again gets a lot of ground balls.
He has good stuff plus too. Like his pitches, his all of his grayed out well. It's kind of so he's that guy too, where like we always talk about control and command are different things. Like he doesn't walk guys, he has good control, but his command isn't always great. Like that sinker is a deadly pitch, but he can't hit his spots with it. But guys can't hit it hard. So if he could hit his spots a little better, he'd probably generate more whiffs. But either way, he's still effective.
Trust the Guardians to get anything extra out of him? Like,
I mean, Pittsburgh's been okay at development. Like, I don't think you can give him a lot of credit for Skeens, right? Like, Jones was a success, but he kind of came off. Mitch Keller was really uneven. It took him forever. So, you can really take a look at that Pittsburgh team. Bubba Chandler's coming along, Ashcroft, and Harrington.
Yeah, they got good pitchers. They've
got some guys, but nothing's proven yet. Maybe they feel like there's something they can do here. What I do know is that he's been a reliable guy throughout his minor league career. Not a lot of injuries. He has his cutter, his sinker, and his four seam all grade up. He threw his slider a ton last year, and while it wasn't a high graded pitch, people didn't hit it. Like this looks like Alex Cobb got $15 million. Alex Cobb got 15 with 2 incentives to take it up to 17. You weren't going to get starting pitching on the market. You just weren't. And Ortiz gives you 4 years of team control. He is slotting into that rotation from day one. And they got 2. We think they wanted to draft Hartle. Like, I think if he was on the board, they don't take Oki. They probably try to push Oki down to give him his $2 million in another round, because who's going to give him $2 million? Like, I think if Hartle's on the board in the third, they take him in the third. I honestly believe that. I think he is their third round pick. They got their pocket picked. So they came back here. They got Ortiz, who can flip into the rotation. Hartle was MLB.com's number 1 pitcher in January for this draft. Number one pitcher. College. No, just number 1 pitcher. The high school group wasn't very good, so he was their number 1 pitcher. He had a rough year at Wake, and everyone jumped ship. I think Cleveland still likes him, and there's ways they think they can fix him. And like I said, Kennedy, he missed like 2 months last year with injury. Well, he's got 3 average to above average offerings. Like, these are guys, these are not nobodies. They got a lot. Like, I liked Spencer Horwitz a lot. I thought maybe there's a world where you try him at second base and then wait for Bazzana to come up in a year or come up in August. They obviously didn't feel that way. There's a lot, but it shows how much value Horwitz had, that they got a guy who's going to slot in the rotation, who had a Baseball Reference WAR of 3 last year, a solid FIP, and had 135 innings, who was a big time prospect, and 2 other guys who are, top 20 prospects. It's a sizable return for Spencer Horwitz, who I like, but I didn't expect this much for him.
No, I mean, I think we were both first saying didn't expect much trading Gimenez because of all the money he was owed.
Yeah.
The fact that they got Horwitz, who again was kind of a late bloomer prospect, and we don't know how much he's going to hit the big league level, but he has enough offensive tools to make you think he's going to sustain what he did last year. He doesn't really have a defensive home. He's older, but he has club control, but the age, whatever. And you got Mitchell. So I think just the fact that the Blue Jays took all the money, and like you said, the Blue Jays don't care. And the $10 million for 2025,
it's nothing this year.
It's not the deal here.
That management group doesn't have to, either they're there and they'll deal with the headache then, or they're out and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. The money this year is not the issue. I think for Gimenez, it's the money he was owed down the road. So I think a lot of people looking at the Gimenez contract were looking at, oh, he's only making $10 million this year. I don't think in 3 years he's going to be a guy worth $23 million, not unless the offense rebounds. And
can I say,
said, the Guardians clearly don't think he's going to. The Blue Jays, I don't know. Like, they obviously didn't think Horwitz was their answer at second base, and they felt like Gimenez was more stable.
Yeah.
So Horwitz carried a lot of value, which is amazing to me. Again, for a 27-year-old without a defensive home, and again, you're getting a mid-rotation guy. I think I like Ortiz. I think this is a guy. He hit the Guardians this past summer in a start against them.
In 2023, Saras had 5 young starters displaying the fastball key to future success, and Ortiz is one of them. His stuff plus rating was ahead of Brian Wu, Grayson Rodriguez, Mackenzie Gore, just behind Bobby Miller, Eury Perez, and Bryce Miller. Like the only other people had Hunter Green, Spencer Strider, Taj Bradley, Mason Miller. Like his stuff plus it's higher than Tanner's, it's higher than Gavin's, who's also in this piece, higher than Bello and Reese Olson. A lot of guys we've talked about. Like his stuff is really, really good. And
and you got him under control for a couple of years. He's still pre-arb, and I think right now your rotation looks like Tanner, Gavin, Ortiz, Lively, and then your fifth starter is
Mackenzie Allen Cantillo, but
Mackenzie, because he's out of options. But this gives you the cover to put guys like Cantillo and Allen in AAA. Mm-hmm. Let them figure their out, and then Shane Bieber comes back in June or July, and all of a sudden your rotation is Tanner and Shane and Ortiz. Those are 3 guys that you can feel really good about, depending on how Shane returns. Mm-hmm. And then if Gavin rebounds, boom. And then Tristan McKenzie. He may or may not be here by then. We don't know. Ben Lively was solid all year last year. Can he repeat it? This gives you a much more cover for your rotation coming into 2025 than you had before. And
Alex Cobb got $15 million.
Yes, my God. Like
you had to find a way to do it via trade.
You turn Andres Gimenez into a mid-rotation, young, controllable starter for the next 4 years. And you also added 2 pitching prospects that aren't nothing either. 2 guys, again, that the Guardians really liked. And I think, I'm not saying they always get it right. I'm not saying they're perfect, but I think you can at least give the Guardians the benefit of the doubt when it comes to pitching. And not only that, the Michael Kennedy thing, Jeff, how many times have you brought up how much longer high school prospects hold their value, especially high school pitching?
Yeah.
There's always a chance you can flip a Hartle or Kennedy in another trade to get something else you need, whether it's this winter or next spring or next summer.
What are they always really good at with pitcher trades? It's pitcher trades. Like they're really good at evaluating guys they've had a chance to see. They do so much better after they see them.
Pro scout is so much easier than amateur.
It is. So it's like when you look at that,
it's easier.
When you look at Kennedy, it's like that's a really interesting sign. And he was a 7-figure signing bonus. He was a big sign for them. And then Hartle,
he was considered unsignable.
Yeah,
at one time he was an LSU commit. Yeah,
and like I said, 3 above average to plus pitches. That's not something we always see in a player that young. And then Hartle is a guy that I heard from multiple, that there were multiple teams that still had a 1st-round grade on him, that they're playing that game. So like when you look at the information that's there, it's like this is. I mean, I like Spencer Horwitz quite a bit. I was excited to add him, but I am shocked at how much value he brought back.
Yeah, you turn Andres Gimenez into. I don't know that the Pirates give you those pitching prospects for Andres Gimenez, not for the cost.
They wouldn't
the
have needed
contract.
him. They have their own guys up the middle, don't they?
They do. I'm just saying that I don't think you can do that. So I don't know. I know a lot of people loved Andres Gimenez, and again, no disrespect to him. I think he's.
I hope I hope he proves me wrong. I want to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that both teams can win, right? Yes. Andres Gimenez goes to the Blue Jays, looks better, and Luis Ortiz fills a very sore need for the Guardians because their rotation has been, patchwork for the last year and a half. And this way they're not counting on Shane Bieber to save them. Like Luis Ortiz. Now look, Luis Ortiz could come in and he could absolutely blow up and not work out. Like he could regress, but I'm willing to bet on the Guardians pitching development that he won't regress. That he'll at least give you what he gave the Pirates last year. And that's pretty darn valuable coming into next season. I'm really curious to see what they say about this, but I think, again, we wanted them to add pitching this offseason. They've added pitching. Bieber comes back and becomes the hero, hopefully, of the trade deadline. Meanwhile, Bibee and Ortiz and you're not desperate for both Allen and Cantillo to save you. So it's a good start. It's a much better start. I didn't expect them to do this much in the winter meetings. Certainly didn't have an Andres Gimenez trade on the bingo card, but we'll get into a little bit more about these pitchers. We'll get into a little more about the second base situation.
We got to talk Nick Mitchell too. We haven't even mentioned
Nick Mitchell, and we got to at least mention a little about the Rule 5 draft. So still so much more to talk about on today's show. Please stick with us. So reading about Michael Kennedy real quickly, when I was kind of reading through and looking at him, he's not as big as Joey Cantillo, and he's not as it's not the same pitcher. Obviously, Cantillo is a lot taller, and they have different deliveries. But I see some similarities in terms of who they are when the Guardians acquired them. Because let's remember, Joey Cantillo came to Cleveland as a well-liked high school prospect who had good control and was a good secondaries, was more of a finesse pitcher. And he was a guy coming out of high school who was 87, 89. Kennedy is like 80, 88, 90 and has good secondaries and control. This is the kind of thing the Guardians do well, right? They take guys that throw good secondaries and have control, and they add velocity. Does it work for every pitcher? No, it doesn't work for every pitcher, because if that was true, then guys like Aaron Davenport and Ryan Webb would all be throwing 95, but they're not. But it does, Joey Cantillo went from a guy who threw 87, 89 when Cleveland got him to a guy who now throws 95. And I know he doesn't know where the ball is going a lot of the time, but hopefully that won't be the case with Kennedy. I don't know. And then Hartle, I don't know if they're going to squeeze more velocity out of Hartle. He does need it, but I think this is the kind of pitcher, the kind of arm slot, the kind of pitchability that they work with very well. And like you said, they were very interested in him in the draft in the third round, and other teams felt he was still a first rounder, and he just fell because of inconsistency. These are good pieces to get back, and like I said,
he's probably like a 5. Like he's a backhand guy, so that hurt his value, as well as there are teams who are like, if Wake can't fix you, how can we hope to do it? So it has to be
Logan Allen-ish,
yeah. I mean, I think his stuff, he's thrown at higher velocities, I want to say, than Allen is thrown.
He's much taller than Allen.
Yeah, he's a bigger kid, but I think. For a lot of teams, I think honestly there was a big point of if Wake can't fix you, what hope do we have? And I think Cleveland is the one that's like, listen,
you do not
we'll fix anyone. Well, that's why I don't like them, because it's like, what are you going to teach them? Like Ryan Cusick, Jared Schuster, these guys have not performed. Like they are what they were.
What did you say yesterday? Teams, or 2 days ago, whatever it was, teams aren't drafting stats. They're not trading for stats, not signing stats.
No,
they're signing and trading and drafting traits.
Yep. And there's
Josh Hartle still has all those traits, and Michael Kennedy has those traits. Luis Ortiz has performance, but he also has traits like good extension. We know the Guardians are really high on this whole extension thing right now.
Yeah, Ortiz is a 6.8. That's like almost everyone in the rotations is 6.8 or better.
Yes, they love extension. So Nick Mitchell, from the one guy that sticks in the Blue Jays in that trade, probably goes to Lake County next year. He's
interesting.
He's interesting. He's not a big name prospect.
No, he's young for the class.
Yeah, he transferred to Indiana senior year. He's got speed.
Junior year.
He great approach at the plate. I don't think, like we always talk about how walk rates don't always translate, and approach. I think the approach is legit with Nick Mitchell. Yeah. I do know some Blue Jays prospect writers who really thought he was one of their better prospects in low A last year. Now we'll see how that translates to high A, but there were some Blue Jays prospect guys in Dunedin who really liked him.
He's that guy that has, like, if you're doing a checklist, like for the Guardians, hey, he didn't turn 21 until September, young for a junior, transferred. We know that transferring is something that they actually look for because it means less consistent coaching, more chance for growth. Performed in the Cape. He actually switched teams in the Cape. I'm not sure that's something you don't see often, but performed well at both stops. Well, good reports from the Cape. By all reports, good eye for the zone, runs well, kind of a scrappy dappy guy
type. Yeah.
But he has all those traits this team looks for. And yeah, he's a fourth round compensation pick for, I can't remember who they lost last year. I'm having a blank out moment. Matt Chapman. That's who it was.
Oh, it was Matt Chapman.
So he was the Matt Chapman, and they didn't give him slot, but they gave him $470,000. That is not an insignificant amount of money. So they paid him pretty well. It shows he's Hartle and Kennedy are going to slot probably in my top 25. I'll have to really sit down and look at. Mitchell doesn't make my top 30, but he's someone I'm going to be watching. Like and one other point, Indiana has very quietly turned into a very good production.
Yeah, they're going to have a first rounder in 2025. Yeah. So
Devin Taylor's fantastic. And this is a guy who was playing with him out there, Western Illinois to Indiana. So it's a good program. So I think it's worth pointing that out, that he's
if I were just looking at my prospects right now, just very quickly, I got to do some work on my list, but I would say, yeah, they're both going to be in the 20s range for me. They might be. I can honestly see them putting them in the top 22. I think they're in the top both. I think they're both in the 20 to 25 range for me as well. I would say maybe even 18 to 25. Yeah.
And then
I would say they're in the late teens and the mid 20s, I would say.
With them, okay, so we've added two prospect pitchers. We added Mitchell and we added Rosario. We're talking about three guys who are in the top 30. And Mitchell would probably be in my 30 to 40 range, honestly.
I kind of fell on Rosario a little bit, but yeah.
I know, but he's still probably top 30 for me. But when
based on upside, he might be in the 20s.
So if you're doing all of that, the four guys added and the huge draft class, the other part of this to look at is they might not be done, or this might set them up to be loaded at the deadline. They're adding so many little pieces here and there. It's going to be interesting to see. And bottom line, Alex Cobb got $15 million. Rule of threes. I'm bringing it up one last time here. Ortiz is going to slot in on this team. He's going to be that starter they needed. He's got 3+ offerings. They're all fastballs, so that's a bit of an issue. But his sinker is one of the best in baseball. I talked about
adding, was still very good.
I talked about adding Jose Quintana, and you hated that idea. This is a younger version. Like that's not fair because Quintana was a great pitcher as a lefty at points, but like this is some similar stuff to Quintana at his early stages when he was still very sinker ball heavy. I wonder if they'll encourage him to throw the sinker more, because the slider was his most thrown pitch. Like in a sinker is often, when you have that and it's that good, it's your number one pitch typically.
Can they help him with a changeup? Like he barely threw a changeup. Can they help him with that? I don't know. They've
been really good at changeup development.
They're not perfect, but when it comes to pitching, I think you give them. I give them the benefit of the doubt. I know no one's gonna like that, and I'm still gonna point this out. The money they're saving on Andres Gimenez, hopefully that means they're adding something else in the way of money. Hopefully that means maybe an extension is back on board. Maybe that means they're willing to commit some money to Quan or Tanner.
I think Quan's out the window, but Tanner,
I still think they're both out the window, but at least
I think Tanner would accept a reasonable offer, and I think Cade Smith is someone they should be talking to as well, because he's in.
Cade Smith, I don't think is going to make a ton of money anyway, so I don't think this is really.
But that's why you're most likely to get it. Like,
but I don't think a Cade Smith extension excludes a Bybee or Quan. Like those are
no. But I'm just saying, I think Tanner and Cade would be my first two people I'd go talk to.
I agree, and we know Tanner would take a reasonable offer. they have to give it. But I just hope this opens the door for that conversation to happen again, because you are getting out from under an extension that could have put you underwater. And they didn't let it hit him this time like it did with Miles Straw before it became untradeable or anything like that. So hopefully they reinvested into something that makes more sense. Because again, people are going to, I'm going to go back to this. People are going to say it's them being cheap. And yes, you can say that if they don't reinvest this money in some way.
They did.
I'm not going to count the Bieber thing. I'm not going to count the Bieber thing. They need to do more. And it needs to be a free agent, or it needs to be trading for someone with salary, or it needs to be extensions for 2 of your guys. Because you're out from under that deal now. You need to reinvest it. So I'm not gonna say that there. So that's still contingent here. As far as second base, we're not gonna have time to get to Rule 5. I don't know. We probably can, but who's on second? Or I'm not sorry. Who's on second? What's on second? Because who was on first? What's on second? Who's playing second base, Jeff?
Angel Martinez.
Juan Brito.
Can Juan Brito play second base?
Juan Brito can stand at second base.
How would that'd be one of the biggest?
You were going to go from Gold Glove, the best defender at second base.
You might go from the best to the worst.
To the worst. Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I like Brito's bat. I think
yes,
Brito would be a great offensive upgrade for this team from Gimenez. Open competition. Let one of them do something until Travis hopefully bangs down the door in like June.
Well, we know that's not going to happen.
That's the hope here, right?
We know what's going to happen with Travis. It's going to be like he'll come up in August so they can preserve that PPI pick.
Or
because next year, if they could set themselves up for all that stuff.
And by the way, I think you mentioned this last week on the show too, earlier this week. If they sign him to a pre-major league extension, he is out of consideration for the
which
pick.
Is fine. If they can do that, do that. Like if they can do a Churio deal, do a Churio deal. Have him locked up. That's more valuable than a first.
That's where you spend the money you just saved on Andres Gimenez. You give the money to Travis Bazzana.
To the new second baseman?
Yes, do it.
I mean, I'm for it.
Okay, how about this? I still want to do something with Rule 5 real quick.
We have to, because they opened a spot with this. That's the other thing we really haven't talked about.
Here's the question. You and I have both been saying we think that Bazzana spends as much or equal time in the outfield as he does second base. Does this push him back towards second base more permanently? I think so. Yeah. I think the outfield thing is kind of now on pause because there's clearly a spot open for him. Hopefully, this would be great if by June we're talking Shane Bieber in this rotation and we're talking Travis Bazzana at second base. This all turns in a great direction. Now, obviously, this could go in all the wrong direction, but that's the upside here, right? As far as Rule 5 draft is concerned, so the Guardians only have 38 on their 40-man roster. They'll have to make the announcement of adding Luis Ortiz. They'll have to make the announcement of adding Shane Bieber. He'll have to be in the 40-man roster this offseason.
They've done it. They've done it. That was in the email that we got.
Ortiz is on the 40? Okay.
At 10:35. Yeah, it says they're at 38 after the addition, including Luis Ortiz. The roster sits at 38 players with the addition of Ortiz.
Jeff, we got 38 minutes into this podcast, and we did not mention that Nick Sandlin is also a Toronto Blue Jay. Poor Nick Sandlin. We just really we're like, yeah, okay, you don't really count.
I mean, here's my question for you. Would Nick Sandlin have made this team? I don't think he would have.
No, I mean, he wasn't on your postseason roster for either round.
And with Trevor Stephan back in the Morgan spot, I don't think he makes this team.
Probably not. No. Here, and this is the other thing with the Andres Gimenez thing. He's getting 5 years, $97 million over the next 5 years. Is somebody giving him that contract on the open market tomorrow? I don't think so either.
Let's see. I want to find it in here. Someone made a great comment in ours. T Wine 83. He said to add to a point to what Jeff had said on Gimmy's contract. JP Crawford's contract was 5 years, $51 million,
and he's all defense too.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody. I don't think if Andres Gimenez became a free agent tomorrow.
And what I kept saying on that, you can go watch if you wanted to hear me glow about Spencer Horwitz, who isn't here anymore. If you want to hear me talk draft, I mean, I answered questions. I talked for 2.5 hours because that's when the questions started to slow down. And I'm like, if I'm going to have any voice for this evening, I got to stop. But I'll keep saying this. No one pays for defense. You pay for someone who's good enough to hit who also has defense, but no one pays for defense directly. If they do both, you pay a ton, but you're not paying for defense.
The Guardians did with Miles Straw and Andres Gimenez, and look what happened.
and these are the exact same situations. They bought both those guys at peak after 1 year, after both had previous down years that showed struggles. Gimenez had a good debut with the Mets in 2020, which you should ignore all the 2020 data. He was terrible in 21. They bought in with the bad BABIP. The difference is Gimenez had a higher high and a lower floor, but he also had a significantly higher. Gimenez in 1 year is going to make more than the entire Straw contract, which is part of the problem. But no one pays for defense. And I'll just keep stating that. Like, you pay for a hitter who has league average and has that defense, but no one pays for someone 2 derivations below league average. And if you watched him last year, there's not a pathway to him getting back to average. And if there was, Cleveland's probably not trading him. They're trying to find another way to get Horowitz out of Toronto. I think this.
Okay, so
yeah.
Rule 5. I don't think the Guardians are taking anybody tomorrow or today. It's such a bad Rule 5 draft.
It is, but like last year they took De Los Santos, even though there was like almost no chance that dude can make the roster.
But there's nobody like him in this draft.
I don't know. I could see a world where they take Ryan Ward.
Why they don't need a first baseman.
He's also got some outfield experience, and like he's a power guy, and like power is so expensive to acquire that if you look at right fielder as well, like if you look at him, left field, right field, first base, he hit a ton of home runs. He had 34 home runs last year in the minors, 21 before that, 28 before that, 27. He is older at 26, but you're paying $50,000 to get a look at him. And they do like gambles like that. So I think they might take someone. I honestly think now I'm switching my view and thinking they might take someone because it's a free gamble.
It's pretty bad. I don't know. If they do, here's some guys I think make sense. I'm kind of pulling this from the Baseball America list, but guys that just fit to me are Brian Torres. He's 27, played outfield. He's played second or third. He caught for the Giants early in his pro career too. He stole 33 bases last year. It's going to be someone offensively with versatility. Will Holland plays everywhere. He gets on base. A lot of defensive versatility there. I don't think a pitch. Ricardo Oliver from the Twins is a catcher outfielder. Maybe they try to strike gold on a third catcher with David Fry out of the way. So maybe like Ricardo Oliver from the Twins is a guy they target. Steven Scott from the Tigers is Rule 5 eligible. He's a guy who is older but catches and also has played some first and some outfield. Who else did I pull up earlier too? Ricardo Oliver, Will Holland. Yeah, those are my 3. As far as losses, I think it's just Ryan Webb tomorrow. I think they're on today. I think it's just Ryan Webb.
Yep. Lefties.
I don't see anybody else.
And I'll say that's the other thing too. When we talk about like Webb and Dion, and we talk about like to a degree Messick and Wilkinson, the guys they added today all have better fastballs than those 4. Like they're they're not late.
I mean, Hartle needs some work on his fastball, but it's definitely better than Dion. It's better than Tugboat in terms of velocity. It may not be in terms of deception, but it's better than Tugboat. It's better. But it's I'm going to get myself in trouble with this. To me, this was an exciting day. 2 separate trades, the lottery. There was a lot going on, and I want to say this. I understand if you were a Gimenez fan, and I understand if you're depressed and upset right now. And I feel no one likes their favorite player being traded. Still wears jersey. I saw people being like, of course I bought his jersey. I'm like, he was great for 3. He wasn't great. He was a solid player, a great teammate, a great person during his time here. And a lot of fun to watch defensively.
Yeah, he was the plays he made were one of the best, like
mind-blowing.
Yeah, wear that jersey with pride. Wear your jersey with pride. Like there's no shame in wearing a Gimenez anything. Like there's no negativity to that guy. So wear it, enjoy it, root for him still. Like I know it stinks he's not here, but
both teams can win a trade. It's possible.
I think part of the thing here, it's like they knew they were going to take a step back defensively. They had to find pitching, and they're pretty sure that one of these many infielders they have can at least produce an 80 WRC plus, which is what he did. Like I think they think that they have, and again, Travis is charging hard down those tracks.
You hope. All right, we'll be back tomorrow to recap the Rule 5, the last day of the winter meetings. We'll see if the Guardians have anything to say about this trade finally.
Yeah, I'll work on my first mock draft of the season, so I will have that for tomorrow as well.
Trade talk Thursday. We're going to talk Taylor Ward. There were some rumors involving him. We might talk a little Roki Sasaki tomorrow as well. I don't think it's going to happen for the Guardians, but I'm going to throw something out there. It's going to be wild, but we'll have a lot to talk about on Thursday's show. So come with us. And then RIP to the Rock, Rocky Colavito. Guardians announced he passed away this week at age 91.
91 years. That's a fantastic run.
one of the best hitters in franchise history. Just a lot of great stories and a lot to this franchise. Very, very unfortunate, and best wishes to his family. But it has not been a slow news day. We hope you've enjoyed this show. We'll be back on Thursday with so much more to talk about. So please don't miss out on an episode. It's our last week of 5 days, and we're going long. So enjoy it. I hope enjoy it as our favorite.
Enjoy it. Shout out to Everydayer, Joshua Bayer, Jazz, who commented that they have been enjoying the show. Hope all of you enjoy it. Again, feel your feels. If you're upset, it's okay to be upset. If you're excited, it's okay to be excited. Like, there isn't a clean answer here. I just know that Alex Cobb got $15 million, so that you had to find a different way to add pitching. Thank you all for joining us. I never thought there'd be a world where Alex Cobb could get $15 million and options. I think I got everything there I need to say in one.
Alex Cobb is the king of options now.
Apparently. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review. Smash that thumbs up. Go check out my 2.5-hour video if you want more content. But we appreciate all of you, all of our everydayers. Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians, go.